gentlemen. First of all, I apologise for not being here earlier. As we all know, there's Matthew's right. There's going to be a vote in the House shortly. There's an urgent question on a statement, on the tragedy in the English Channel just last night. So it's something that I wanted to be involved with. Iran's been a place that's always had a soft spot in my heart for, and so it's a real pleasure for me to come along. And in this room, we have many friends and colleagues that we've worked with over the years. Very encouraged by the start of some freedom and freedom of expression. I think it's a better way of putting it, perhaps, in Iran, where many people, students and others, are taking their stand. So I want to just maybe speak along those lines. So, honourable colleagues, dear friends, it is absolutely a pleasure and a privilege for me to be here to voice our support for the Iranian people. And we do pray daily for their freedom, and they will have the democracy that we have. And just before the Christmas recess, as a Christian, we look forward to what Christmas means for us, the birth of the Lord Jesus. As we prepare to celebrate the holidays with family, our thoughts and prayers are with the families and mothers of those killed by the regime during the 3 months of protests in Iran. I also want to condemn very strongly, if I could do it more strongly, I would condemn the regime's dispatching of the military and the paramilitary IRGC to crack down on the protests by Iran's ethnic minorities, the Kurds, the Baluchis. I'm encouraged to hear the popular chants across Iran that the people are brothers and united in the resistance to the regime and the struggle for a free and democratic Iran. That's something we're here to support you on, but also to pray for every day, as we do regularly. I also want to highlight, as I often do, and indeed probably in many debates across the House, as indeed does my colleague here, Matthew, as well, is the plight of Iran's religious minorities. In particular, we think of the Baha'is. They're a very gentle people. I don't know if anybody knows the Baha'is in this room, but in my discussions and Matthew's meetings with them, they're a gentle people. As well as the Christians, of which I am one, and my brothers and sisters who are being persecuted for their religious belief and deprived of the right to exercise their religion. In this country, we can go to church, we can pray, we can have our congregations and our meetings. In Iran, that's not possible. So when we look at those being persecuted for religious belief and deprived of the right to exercise their religion, especially as the regime intensifies its crackdown on the uprising. We've heard today from my cross-party colleagues what the next steps our government and the UN member states ought to take. So I want to proudly associate myself with Matthew and everyone who has spoken, because I know their thoughts are my thoughts, and there's not much to differentiate between us with these remarks and their recommendations. And we know that Iran is a very diverse country. I've never visited Iran, never had the opportunity, but I hope someday to visit the free Iran, whenever that day comes. And we'll be alongside many other people with that same thing in mind. And they have many religious and ethnic minorities, but what all of them have in common is that they are all victims of the regime's state persecution and domestic repression. And that's something that we've witnessed horribly over the years, but more so in the news and the media in the last few weeks. It is, I believe, truly twisted that the regime thinks it represents God. It doesn't represent my God, and pure evil of authorities in Iran who believe they're entitled to invoke God's name, their words, to justify the execution of activists, of protesters and dissidents. All people of faith condemn this misuse of religion to justify crackdown and killing. My God's a God of love. Theirs doesn't seem to be. We cannot allow the regime and its leaders and officials to escape justice. And I seek justice for all those who have carried out the most abominable crimes against their own brothers and sisters, their own people. Without accountability, the regime's killing spree will continue, as we have seen, I'm sorry to say, seen time and time again over the last 4 decades. Therefore, I want to stress on the need to refer the regime and its many human rights violations to the UN Security Council for prosecution. We need to do that, and our government needs to support us, and I know they will. when it comes to making sure that that happens. Our government also must make sure that the fact-finding mission, which is to be created following the vote in the UN Human Rights Council, is really serious. And it's not just words we want, it's actions. So let's get the actions to make sure and not watered down by the regime's allies at the UN. So we must stand strong in our efforts to hold the regime to account and to use every opportunity we have to express our support for the Iranian people and the resistance led by Madam Rajabi. That is what I do. That's what my friend Matthew does. That's what many, many MPs from all parties across the House do. And that is why my party, the Democratic Unionist Party, will do in the Parliament until the Iranian people enjoy a free and democratic Iran. I look forward to those days. I also am a great believer in prayer. You know that. I believe with prayer we can move mountains. And I think the mountain of that illegal, ungodlike regime in Iran must come to an end. So I pray for that every day. I pray for righteous judgment and righteous anger. And I believe that our God will answer that. So can I also, in the theme of Christmas, after saying that, wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. And thank you for listening to me. Thank you.